Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, Horrorboy465, and today doing a video a little bit more different. Want to do more of a audio focused video. Usually whenever new movies come out, I always just do movie reviews on them. But with this kind of video, I'm not really doing a movie review. This is really just kind of like a discussion, kind of like my general thoughts on this film. Seeing it in the theaters, not opening day, but the second day, so pretty much like opening day is second day. As a matter of fact, I think I accidentally seen Venom on the opening day. I might have. I know I seen it like it was either opening day or it was second opening day, maybe even been third, because it was really early in its opening because there was a lot of people there. And that's a video that I'll be covering a little bit later on. Now, I'm not really too sure I'm going to be covering that movie, but I'll make a video on that eventually. And ironically, I'm recording a video about a movie called Halloween in November, but I had zero time in October to do any videos. I was going to do actually a really big video in October. I was going to do it actually on Halloween. And I was off, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to plan this video out, and we're going to shoot this video and do it. What happened was I ended up getting really busy on Halloween, and did watch a couple movies on Halloween. I did watch Halloween 3, and I did watch a couple other movies. Really, I can't think of what else I seen. I think I seen like at least 2 or 3 movies that day. And my plan was to, watch a couple movies and then, pass out candy or whatever. Actually, wasn't really even passing out candy. I was actually scaring people. I was like wearing a mask and jumping out and scaring people, so that was pretty fun. But I had a plan after that to, make a YouTube video and talk about this movie to you guys. And then also I was going to do a video that I don't want to give away yet because I kind of want to keep it a surprise still because, I still want to do it. So that video will be coming eventually. And it's not the Venom video either. It's a different one. But yeah, I wanted to do this video because not only did I want to do a movie review on this film and discuss this movie, but I wanted to discuss kind of what's going on around it, the box office news about it. As you guys know, this movie is probably one of the biggest horror movie openings of all time, probably the biggest, if I'm not mistaken. And the movie was a very low-budget film. It was actually a lower budget than I thought. I thought it was going to have like a $25, maybe $30 million budget. The budget is $10 million, and in today's standards, that's a very low budget for this film. Of course, the film I'm talking about is Halloween from 2018, which by the way gets 7.1 on IMDb. A little high, okay, 7.1. The original got 7.8, and what did Halloween 2 get? Halloween 2 got a 6.6. And I know for a fact Halloween's 3 and 4 don't even match those ratings. Yeah, Halloween 3 gets a 4.8, and Halloween 3 gets a 4.8, and Halloween 3, there we go. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch gets a 4.8, and Halloween 4 gets a 5.9. The reason I kept saying Halloween 4 is because I kept switching over to it really fast. But we'll get into my thoughts on that in a second. But first of all, I want to say this. I am a huge fan of the Halloween franchise. My opinions have varied a lot over the years with this series. And as you guys know, most of my older videos I did on the franchise were rants, and also the re-uploads and the re-reviews I did, most of them were rants as well. But I bounce back and forth with these films a lot. And I would honestly say that I'm probably more lenient on this franchise than most fans are. Most fans only like the first movie. Some of them only like the first 2 movies. Some of them only like 1, 2, and 4. Some of them only like 1 and H2O. So the Halloween film franchise has definitely got a very divisive opinion amongst fans. And just want to get into this and say that this is my opinion, so if you disagree, that's totally fine. All I ask is to not be a complete asshole in the comments about it, then, we're cool. If you disagree, that's fine. But I would say that I'm probably a lot more lenient than most Halloween fans. and the fact that I love the first four movies. I don't dislike the first four movies. I just don't think the first four movies are just okay. I love the first four movies. Halloween 1 is a classic and is one of my favorite horror films of all time. Halloween 2 is a fantastic sequel that I have noticed over the years gets more and more and more and more crap piled on it. And I don't know where all this, sporadic amount of hate is coming from. Especially now this movie's out, Halloween 2's got a lot of hate. And I think us Halloween 2 fans need to kind of back up Halloween 2 because there's a lot of Halloween 2 fans, but yet Halloween 2018 is now being hailed as the better sequel, and now Halloween 2 all of a sudden has all these problems with it, which I'm not understanding, which I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I'm a huge Halloween fan, huge fan of Halloween 2. I think it's a great sequel, has a lot of great stuff in it. I think you get the best of both worlds. If you like suspense but you want blood, you also get blood, and if you want suspense, you get suspense. You have the atmosphere of the hospital, which I really loved. You had some really great characters that are definitely memorable. They're not I guess they are generic kind of characters, but you still kind of remember them. You remember, the head nurse there, that character, the Bud character, you remember him. I just remember this guy's name because he has a really weird name, Dr. Mixture. You remember that character? You remember the security guard getting the hammer in the head? They're generic characters, but you can still remember them. It's not like you can't remember any of the characters. It's not like Freddy vs. Jason type characters. Those characters, I don't even know what their names are. Don't even know who they are. I can't even remember. They all sucked. So, but it's not that bad. I think Halloween 2 is a great sequel. I think it's honestly the best sequel. It's my favorite sequel. It used to be my favorite film. But over the years, I've definitely seen how Halloween 1, out of all movies, is definitely the superior film because it has that quality to it that no other movie, not only in just horror, but in film history has done. That movie kind of has its own kind of flavor. It kind of has its own formula that just fits that film so perfectly that even this new movie couldn't even touch. So that's something to be said, that a film from 1978 has yet to have a film that's kind of done that in the same way. I'm not sitting here saying it's the best movie of all time, but it's definitely one of the best movies of all time, at least in my opinion. I think it's a great masterpiece. But Halloween 2 is a great sequel. You got gore, you got suspense, you got, in my opinion, a really awesome look for Michael Myers. I like the look when he gets shot in the eyes and the blood going down the mask. That's a pretty cool look. I like how he uses a scalpel instead of a kitchen knife. It's different. I like that idea. And so yeah, Halloween 2 is a great sequel. And for some reason, it's getting a lot of flack. And ever since this movie came out, people are saying, oh yeah, well now Halloween 2 sucks. Then, and I know that there's still fans out there of Halloween 2, but if you were a fan of Halloween 2 and then this movie came out and you just kind of started crapping on Halloween 2, were you honestly a Halloween 2 fan? Because I kind of question that, because in my opinion, Halloween 2 is miles better than this new movie, which this isn't going to be a rant or anything like that, but I'll get into my thoughts on the film in a minute. This is going to be a pretty lengthy video, so you guys definitely sit back, relax, and hopefully you guys enjoy Horror Boy Radio. No, but Halloween 2 is a great movie, and right now, for some reason, it's underrated. I think it's a great movie. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, is one of my favorite Halloween movies to watch, and Halloween. That was very confusing to say. It's one of my favorite Halloween movies to watch in October. For me, the atmosphere of it's amazing. It has a great John Carpenter feel to it. Tommy Lee Wallace directing did a great job. The score by, I believe, Alan Howarth and John Carpenter was fantastic. I love the idea of the movie about the killer masks and Cochran running this giant organization, Silver Shamrock, the commercials. I just thought that it had pretty much everything going for it. I thought it was a great movie. Halloween 3 is one of my favorite films, to watch. I really love Halloween 3. I actually want to get a Halloween 3 t-shirt one of these days. And actually what's funny about that, mentioning that, when this new Halloween movie came out, I seen more Halloween 3 t-shirts than I did of any other movies. Like I was wearing my Halloween 1 t-shirt, and I think I might have seen maybe another Halloween 1 t-shirt, and then I seen like 2 or 3 Halloween 3 t-shirts. So I was like, wow, that movie's definitely picking up steam. What about Halloween 2? Everybody's forgetting about Halloween 2. But yeah, Halloween 2 is a great movie. Definitely very, very underrated. Yes, it doesn't have Michael Myers in it, but it's still a great story. It still has Tom Atkins as the lead, which is amazing. Tom Atkins is a badass. You have great characters, a pretty fun script, definitely a very Halloween script. Matches the season. I love the score. I love the atmosphere. I love pretty much everything about Halloween 3. I have the Scream Factory edition of it. I think I'm good with the edition that I have of Halloween 2, but I do have the Scream Factory edition of Halloween 3, and it was definitely a great pickup. And if we go on to the next movie, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. I love the film. I think it's a great movie. I think it's honestly a pretty underrated sequel, because most people either today don't really like it that much, or Halloween 4 is okay, or Halloween 4 is meh. But I never got that. I'm like, Halloween 4 is a lot right. It keeps things simplistic. It definitely did a great job of trying to keep things how the first movie did it. With not really showing much blood and gore at first, and then you kind of get those little moments of where it does get pretty brutal, like when Michael Myers pushes his thumb into the guy's forehead, or Michael Myers ripping the guy's face apart. Like, it was gory, but it was enough gore to where you can't really say, oh yeah, it was a gore fest, but it was enough gore to kind of satisfy you. And for me, Halloween 4 has a great atmosphere, has a great Halloween feel. The October setting is really great. Has an awesome score by Alan Howarth. Dwight H. Little directing it. Thought it was great. Had a bunch of really awesome characters. Like, you had Rachel and Jamie, and you had the dude who was dating Rachel, but he was also kind of cheating on her. I think his name was Brady or something like that. You also had the side characters, which I actually really like. The sheriff character, the police in the film aren't totally useless, and I like that. Michael Myers in the movie. I honestly like the look of Michael Myers. A lot of people say the Michael Myers look in that movie was cheesy and awful. I don't really get that. Personally, I thought that was a pretty good look for Michael Myers. I used to talk crap about The Mask all the time. I used to say I didn't really like The Mask, but for me, The Mask kind of matches the movie. It's like its own mask. It's its own look, and I like the look of The Mask in Halloween 4. So yeah, Halloween 4 is a great sequel. I love Halloween 4. I can't complain about it at all. I think it's a great movie. I think it's underrated. More people look over it than they should. Has some great suspense, but also kind of like turns up the action a little bit in the movie with explosions and the rooftop sequence, the car sequence, the school sequence. Like, you have all these great sequences in the film. And it seems like Halloween 4 is kind of one of those movies in the franchise that gets kind of shadowed over. Nobody really talks about Halloween 4 that much, and personally, I think it's bullcrap. I think it's a great movie. Halloween 5. Now, this is a movie that I used to rant on in the past. And to be honest, Halloween 5 is decent. I don't think it's a great movie. Is it better than this new movie? I wouldn't say so. I would say this new 2018 film is definitely better than Halloween 5. It has a lot of problems, but it's also a fun horror film. That's what I think about Halloween 5. Is it anything monumental? Is it anything that's groundbreaking in the series? No. Does it have a lot of issues and problems? Yes. Is it entertaining? Yes. And that's the thing I think about Halloween 5 that I've been so divisive on the years, is that even though there's a lot of bad things in it, is it entertaining? Yes, it's still an entertaining film. It still has, in my opinion, a great October feel, a great look. To me, I thought that Jamie, the Jamie character was decent in the film. Granted, there's problems in the film that I didn't like. There's aspects of the film I didn't really care for, but Jamie was a good character still. You had Rachel in there, and it's kind of just one of those movies where it has a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. And I think for me, It's just kind of one of those movies where I can just kind of watch it and, be, I guess, entertained. That's about it. There's nothing really else to Halloween 5. And Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. That's a movie I used to rant on a lot. And I used to give it a lot of crap. But honestly, Halloween 6 is decent. I think Halloween 5 and Halloween 6 are on the same level for me. They're just kind of like meh, decent kind of movies. Where I think that Halloween 5 has a great atmosphere. It has a horrible mask. Where it's like it has good kills, but it has, bad characters. Has a great soundtrack, but it has a horrible director and a horrible, just kind of background storyline of the mysterious man who has the thorn symbol, which at the time nobody knew what that was. But Halloween 6 is a decent movie. I mean, I think that the main problems with it is like the cast sucks, the acting's horrible. It has a really bad mid-90s MTV look to it. And honestly, people love that look. And you know what? Opinions are opinions, and they're very divisive. But to me, whenever I watch Halloween 6, kind of reminds me of like a mid-90s kind of grunge-ish type music video, which just doesn't work for me. Granted, the lighting's decent, like the orange lighting, the red lighting, the blue and purple type of lighting. I like that. The mask is pretty good in the movie. The guy who played Michael Myers, same guy from Halloween 4, did a great job. I think his name is George Wilbur. George B. or George P. Wilbur. I can't remember. I'm just going to say George Wilbur. But it does have a horrible storyline. The Thorn plot line is horrible in my opinion. I think it sucks. And I think it's just one of the most terrible storylines you can have in a Halloween film. So Halloween 6 is decent. Now this next one's going to get me a lot of heat. But Halloween H2O sucks. I'm sorry. And that's coming from a guy who's given Halloween 5 and 6 a little bit of credit. Halloween 7 or Halloween H2O just sucks in my opinion. And the reason it sucks is because without that third act, nobody would care for that film. I'm telling you guys that right now. Nobody would care about that film if there wasn't a third act. If there was no third act in that movie, there would be nothing else to watch that movie for. What else is good about that film besides the third act? I can say this. Josh Arnett, Jamie Lee Curtis's love interest, I can't remember his name. I think it's Adam Arkin is the guy who plays him. That guy was pretty decent. But, not David. Did I say David Arquette? He is not in this film. I meant to say, why did I say David Arquette? Josh Arnett, not David Arquette. Josh Arnett is pretty good in the movie. Michelle Williams is okay. Jamie Lee Curtis is pretty decent. Actually, she's really good in that movie. It's just, she doesn't really do anything to the third act if you think about it. And I think the guy's name was Adam Arkin. Yeah, Adam Arkin, Will Brennan. His character was decent. So you had decent characters. Okay, decent characters. There is nothing else to the film. Besides maybe also Jamie Lee Curtis's character development. That character arc. What else is there in Halloween H2O? The masks are horrible. The mask shapeshifts through the whole film. Literally, through the whole film. I'm gonna drink real quick. Through the whole film, the mask changes and looks awful. I don't care which mask it is. They all look terrible. They should have stuck with just one mask. Just one mask. Halloween 4 did it. And that mask gets a lot of controversy, but at least they stuck with a mask. Now, granted, there was that one scene in Halloween 4 where it was blonde hair because they didn't get the mask dyed enough in time, so they had to shoot the scene really fast. They shot it really fast, and I've always wondered why that one scene had Michael Myers with blonde hair. I'm like, why does Michael Myers have blonde hair? That explains it. But even that is just a small mistake. Here, it's like through the whole film, the mask changes and changes and changes. And it's annoying. It's really annoying. You know what else is annoying about the film? The score. The score is horrible. It has this horrible, awful Scream rip-off score. That sounds terrible. You have the Halloween theme song being done on violins and stuff. Like, what the heck, man? It's just horrible score. I hate the way the movie looks. How it's shot. The camera work is awful. The MTV look is awful. The neo-slasher film look is terrible. It worked for Scream. In my opinion, it does not work for Halloween. It looks totally out of place. This whole Dawson's Creek / Scream / I Know What You Did Last Summer look looks awful in this film. And that's why I can't stand to watch this movie, because it has so many annoying things to it. The kills are just bland. Typical kills. Most of it is Michael Myers just stabbing people with a knife. Oh, that's so, yeah, it's typical. So no gore. No blood. I mean, there's blood and gore, but there's nothing special to it. Just generic, bland kills. Halloween H2O has one thing going for it, and that's the third act. And that's pretty much what every other fan says, that the third act is pretty awesome because you have a lot of great scenes. The table scene, you know, the scene where Jamie Lee Curtis is throwing the knives at Michael Myers and he stabs through the freaking cupboard and the knife goes right past her head. Great scene, I will admit. Her walking, looking for Michael Myers with the axe, facing her fears, I get that. In my opinion, LL Cool J wasn't really that bad in the movie. You know, people say that him and Busta Rhymes are horrible. To be honest, they're not that bad to me. They're not what makes these movies bad, in my opinion. They were fun characters. I'll admit that. They were fun characters. What else is there to this film other than that third act? And the ending, where she kills Michael Myers and the story's over with, which it should have ended with. There's nothing else to it. And Resurrection is horrible. Resurrection is terrible. I'm not even going to go into... We spent 20 minutes on these other films, and we haven't got to the newest movie yet. Sorry, guys. But I did tell you guys it'd be a long video. Resurrection is terrible. It's garbage. We all know why it's garbage. Rob Zombie's Halloween. I'll watch the theatrical cut. Think it's okay sometimes. Sometimes I'll hate it. I do for sure hate the unrated cut, because it has a lot of unnecessary filler, and it has a rape scene that doesn't need to be in a Halloween film, and it has a lot of other stuff that I don't really care for. So, the unrated cut for Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, I just don't care for. Theatrical cut, I guess at best, is maybe a decent movie. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I get it, it's different, I get it, it's Rob Zombie taking the movie in his own direction. I thought it was a stupid film, with a really lame concept. With a really lame concept. Just did not care for it. Just really did not. But we waited a while, and we get to this new Halloween film, which I guess we're finally getting into. But Halloween 2018. Now this is definitely going to contain spoilers. So if you made it this far, spoilers ahead. So you don't want to get this movie spoiled, go see the movie. I don't know if it's still in theaters or not, but go see it, and then come back to this review. But this movie... Okay. This movie is decent. This movie is great in some ways, and then in other ways it's bad. So, the overall thoughts on the movie, the overall rating I would give it is that it's decent. The movie basically picks up right after Halloween 1's direct sequel, and pretty much Michael Myers is in a mental institution, and he breaks out. It's 40 years later, and Jamie Lee Curtis has to now face Michael Myers again, and he comes back to Haddonfield and starts killing people. Very simple storyline. We'll get into it a little bit more in depth, but that's pretty much storyline. You know what? I'm just going to say this. The movie does have a lot of positives to it. First of all, to me, the comedy is annoying in some scenes, but in other scenes, I chuckled and laughed, I will admit. And I noticed that a lot of film critics are starting to give comedy in films flack. Now, I don't know if that's because they're so used to people making, like, really serious films that now there's comedy being put in them. They're like, oh no, it's supposed to be serious. If the comedy works, man, then don't make it a negative. Make it a positive because it made you laugh and it was a funny scene. It's a thing I'm going to mention when I do my review of Venom. I just never got why critics crap on films that make them laugh. It's like, if it makes you laugh, it obviously was funny and it worked, so why are you critiquing that? But I will admit, some of the comedy in the movie was not appropriate for the film, did not need to be in the movie, was not necessary. The pudding comedic scene was horrible. The peanut butter scene was terrible. A couple other lines of dialogue I thought were just... You don't need him in a Halloween film. That's just how I felt. First of all, I will say this movie is very well shot. Has a great look to it. I think it's lit very well. So that the whole visual aspect of the movie I thought was nailed. The score by John Carpenter is pretty good. I actually really enjoyed it. There's a couple tracks in there that kind of fell out of place. Like, the main chase theme kind of sounds like something that you would hear in Halloween 3, but it's in this movie. And I remember being in the theaters and I was like, why is this music playing? This is totally not Michael Myers music. This is like something that'd be in Halloween 3. What is this doing here? It's like a hidden, unreleased track from Halloween 3 that's like, oh, well, that movie sucks. We're going to put it in this movie because nobody's going to know that that's from Halloween 3. It sounds like it's exactly from Halloween 3. It's that chase music, that and then that like synthesizer piano thing they got going in the background. I would play the music, but I don't know if I'll get copyrighted for that or not, so I don't want to chance that. But it's the chase music. You guys know what I'm saying if you've seen the movie. It's that piece of music that just, for me, is kind of like, why is this in this movie? It's a good piece of music, but it threw me off. I'm like, why isn't the Shape Stocks playing? That simple piano sound, that duh, 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 that would be appropriate for that scene. And you could modify it and give it a creepy vibe, make it like duh, 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 add some bass to it and make the tone a little bit lower so you can make it sound all gritty and just like dark and scary. But no, they just go this really weird piece of music that's just like out of place. I'm like, why is this in here? The kid, the comedic relief, and that seemed the kid that the girl's babysitting. That was a pretty funny scene, no lie. It's pretty funny. I like the concept at the beginning of the movie, how it opens up and the pumpkin is all rotten, and then it inflates, and you have that classic font, Halloween font, and the awesome return to the orange titles coming back. That was pretty awesome. Decent kills, really decent kills actually, pretty awesome kills honestly. You got a head stomp and some really intense kills. Some of them are off screen, but they add the impact still. The look of Michael Myers is awesome, no complaints on that. Nick Castle came back and played Michael Myers, did a great job. The stunt double who filled in for him did a great job. I think Nick Castle kind of filmed the Michael Myers scenes like when he doesn't have the costume on, and then I think when the Michael Myers costume is on, it's somebody else. I think it's a stunt double. But a good Michael Myers in this movie. Very vicious, very dark, definitely very crazy. So Michael Myers in this movie is great. I think he's great in this movie. What other good things? So I'm giving a lot of praise, if you guys can hear this. I'm giving a lot of praise. I didn't mind the storyline of, Jamie kind of dealing with things, or not Jamie, Jamie Lee Curtis, but Laurie, I like how she just kind of like, she's dealing with fear and dealing with how she's going to, get prepared for Michael Myers again, and I like that storyline. I like how she has these guns in this house out in the middle of nowhere. It's all securityed up. I like that. The third act is amazing. It definitely feels like a Halloween movie. And that's the thing, like, the last half, I don't even say the third act, the last half of this film feels like a Halloween movie. Has the suspense, has the viciousness, the kills, has the look, has the feel, has the score. The intensity is there. First half of the movie just kind of feels like a slasher movie. I'll just be honest with that. And my problems with the film is that, for me, some of the characters I didn't really care for. I didn't really care for Laurie's daughter. I didn't really care for her character or the actress who played her. I didn't really care for Laurie's granddaughter, or her boyfriend, or her friends. The only characters I really cared about in this movie was Jamie Lee Curtis and the sheriff, Michael Myers, and that's about it. I mean, the little kid character was pretty, funny. So, I mean, I guess he's a decent character. For me, the twist is also a big problem, which I'll get into, but the twist is a huge problem. And also just the mixed energy of this film. This movie feels like something that was, at first, a great Halloween movie, and then the studio said, well, we need to make it more modern, because with Jamie Lee Curtis as the lead, and her being in the forefront all the time, and her being the lead star, that could be boring for younger generations. So let's get these young faces in there, let's get these young kids in there, to kind of see if we can use this to sell the movie a little bit more better. That's how it feels, honestly. That's honestly how it feels. It felt like the studio was just like, oh yeah, well, let's get some of these kids in there, and let's get this comedy in there that feels out of place sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. Let's get the slasher film tone in there. Let's get dialogue in there that's like completely out of place. And then let's put a twist in there, and then completely just dismiss the twist just a minute later. That's literally what happens in this film. But then again, you also have just like great chase sequences, great kills, great stalking sequences. That whole shot of Michael Myers walking through the neighborhood and killing people, and it all being done in one track shot, that was amazing. That was such a great scene. That ending with Michael Myers and Jamie Lee Curtis battling out in the house. Michael Myers throws her off the balcony and looks down and she's gone, and now he's wondering where she's at. The whole suspense built up in that mannequin room, which was a pretty creepy idea. Her locking him in the basement. Him being shot up and bleeding, has his fingers blown off. That was all awesome. But then you have these really weird sequences where it's like the granddaughter runs into a group of mannequins, and she screams, and the camera does this crazy like pan shot on all these mannequins as she's screaming and is freaking out, and then it cuts to the next scene. Why that happens, I have no clue. It's not scary, it's not creepy, so it does nothing to the impact of that. And also, there are literally like 1,000 jump scares in this movie. There's jump scares literally almost every scene, and it gets really annoying because I would say probably 99% of them don't work. Yeah, I would say that was about, probably about 99% of those jump scares don't work. And if you keep putting them in the movie and they keep not working, it just keeps getting annoying. So, that got annoying. But, overall, the movie I thought was pretty decent. The twist I just thought was horrible. That whole twist of, oh, you have the new Loomis, this new doctor who became so obsessed that he broke Michael Myers out of the bus and let him escape. And now he wants to kind of study the serial killer and wants to study what makes a serial killer, kill people. And, there's a twist where he kills the sheriff character and he becomes a killer. And it's like, what the freak is this? I literally was sitting in the theaters and I'm like, what the hell is this? I literally said that. When a movie can make me say something like that, that's not a good sign. I literally was sitting there, I'm like, okay, Michael Myers walking along. Then Michael Myers just gets hit by a car because they see him. So I'm like, why is Michael Myers walking out in the open like this? I get it, it's Halloween, but you're Michael Myers. People are going to know who you are from the murders in the past. They'll know exactly who you are. So So Michael Myers is walking on the sidewalk out in the open, and the girl in the car is like, "Oh, there he is." They run over Michael Myers and kill him. I think they kill him. He's not, obviously he's not dead. And the doctor gets out and just stabs the sheriff. And I'm like, I literally was like, what the hell is this? And then like, he puts Michael Myers' mask on. I'm like, what is this? This is me in the theater talking like this. I'm like, what the hell is this? What is going on? What is this? And then the doctor just gets killed later on. He gets killed like 2 minutes later. After a horrible scene with these people talking about pudding. For like 2 minutes. And so that's that storyline. The doctor just gets killed like 2 minutes later. I'm like, so what was the point of that? What was the point of it? What was the whole point of that? It's pointless. You might as well just cut it out. If you're not going to do anything with it. It's an easy edit. Just edit make sure the sheriff doesn't get killed off, and, you know, you can keep it to where the next couple of scenes happen. Only just make it to where the doctor's in the passenger seat instead of the driver's seat, and Michael Myers somehow, you know, wakes up and kills them. I don't even know how they would do that, honestly, but that whole storyline, for being a shocking storyline, was just terrible. I was like, what? It's not even shocking. I was just like, what the hell is this? What is this garbage on the screen? What are they doing? Script writers, like the freaking 4 script writers, or 3 or 4 script writers. I'm like, what the freak are you doing? What is going on my screen right now? That's literally my reaction to that. That was ridiculous. Horrible. Horrible. But I will say this movie is definitely an okay film. It has a lot of great homages to the original movie. Has a lot of great homages to the sequels. You know? Even has an homage to Halloween 3, which I didn't really think they would do. Has an homage to Halloween, you know, 4 and 2 and 3 and 1, of course. H2O. Pretty much most of the films in the series they did an homage to. And, geez, what else is there to say about this movie? I don't even really know. I will say this: it's a fun film. It's definitely a decent movie, but we're about to get into the next topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. So my final verdict on the film is that it is a decent film, fun time. I did enjoy it. It was quite a decent film. But it was not 7.1 worthy. And it was not worthy to get freaking opening weekend like $70 million. Which I think was the biggest horror film opening of all time. So I'm like, okay, so the first movie was one of the highest grossing independent films of all time. And now this movie gets highest grossing opening weekend of all time. And to me, it's not worthy of that. It's really not. And I get it, you can't help that. So, as of current, this is the most current report of this. It's from November 6th. The movie has over $151 million in the U.S. But opening weekend, it made $76 million on a $10 million budget. It is a smash hit right now, as far as horror movies go. This is a smash hit. It's IMDb, this freaking, become an IMDb Pro member today. I don't want to become an IMDb Pro member. So no thank you, I'm not paying for this. Sorry, quick rant on the side. But, oh yeah, and I just looked at the runtime. 1 hour and 46 minutes, runs by fast. It's a fast-paced movie. I think it's well edited. I think it has some, really fun stuff to it. But is it there to kind of just dethrone Halloween 2 and dethrone Halloween 4? No. For people to say that Halloween 2 and 4 are garbage now, like, ever since this movie came out, and ever since, and this is just something that I want to talk about. First of all, this movie does not deserve that much praise. This movie is getting way, 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 way too much praise. To the point to where I'm like, what are Halloween fans doing? And I'm a Halloween fan. I love the first 4 movies. 5 and 6 are decent. Rob Zombie's Halloween movie is not really a big fan of, but I can watch the first movie's theatrical cut and think it's okay. So I'm a fan. I really am. I'm probably more lenient on this film franchise than most Halloween fans. But for this movie to get $151 million total, that's in the U.S. alone. That's the U.S. gross. That's not counting, when... I don't even know, is it out on Blu-ray yet? I don't know if it's out on Blu-ray yet or not. That might be counting Blu-ray sales, I'm not too sure. But I don't know if Halloween has a Blu-ray out. I'm just going to check on that real quick. I think it might, because it's been out for a minute now. No, it doesn't. It doesn't even have a Blu-ray out. So this movie doesn't even have a Blu-ray out and a DVD out. It's not even on sale yet on demand and stuff like that. It's not even streaming yet. And it has $151 million. Now I guarantee you, this is still US alone. When Blu-ray and DVD comes out, that's going to go to $200 million. When this movie goes worldwide, it's probably going to have at least $350 million. I'm just going to count on that. I'm going to estimate that right now. With DVD sales, $200 million. I think it can pull in, some more money with DVD and Blu-ray sales, because everybody's going to want this movie in this collection. So that will make it probably $200 million, at least. But with worldwide sales, I'm saying probably $350 million. For this movie to make that much money is ridiculous to me, because it's not that worthy of that kind of success. You know what movie I thought kind of matched this success was Jurassic World. Jurassic World ended up being one of the highest grossing films, I think, of 2015. And highest grossing films of all time. One of the highest grossing films of all time. Or it might have been just the opening weekend. But that movie, at least, it felt like it kind of deserved it. I was it's very entertaining, very action-packed, has a lot of great characters, has a great look, and it's filmed very well. And it has amazing effects. So that movie kind of earned that. To me, this movie did not earn that. To me, this movie kind of earned maybe an $80 million, comeback. And that's grossing in the U.S., not just opening weekend. That's just in total. So I would be comfortable with it maybe getting $80 million total by now. And it being successful, but not $76 million in the opening weekend successful. I'm glad it did. I'm happy because the Halloween franchise, that shows that horror is not dead. It's still very much alive, and I'm glad about all that. But then the other part of me is man, dude, you resurrect this franchise and you give it a cliffhanger ending, which is another one of my problems with the film. Why did you not just bring this movie back and make it a great, fantastic Halloween movie and end the series right here? And most Halloween fans are probably calling me crazy by now. But for me, why would you want to continue the series when your job was to come back and fix it? Fix it and end the series. Because if you do this movie and you do 4 more movies, it's going to be right back to square one. Then, add in another alternate timeline. It's how many alternate timelines are you going to do before you realize this franchise is done? It's done. This movie was decent, but it was not that freaking good. And I have a feeling that it had the same problems that, say Suicide Squad did, that Justice League did, that multiple other films have, where you can tell the studio is hey, let's put this in there. Hey, let's put that in there. Because the first half of this movie is not that great. Has horrible characters, horrible dialogue, and just did not feel like much of a Halloween movie. The last half of it was that was great. Why could we get this to the whole film? I was wondering about that. And I feel like the early product of this, the early stages of this movie was probably going to be that kind of tone through the whole film, having Jamie Lee Curtis as the lead, kind of having it to where, you know what? You know how you could have done this the right way? This is how you do it the right way, studio. If you want the young faces, if you want the young humor, and you want all this humor, and you want to have all this kind of comedy in the movie, and you kind of want to have all these different, energies going on through the whole film, this is a storyline I got for you. Have it to where Laurie's daughter, or Laurie's granddaughter, comes to visit her. Stays at her house. Laurie is battling things, but you can make it to where she's still a good, grandmother. She's kind of like Halloween H2O, where she's not completely crazy, but she's still dealing with things. She still has the gun collection. You can have it to where her house is actually pretty nice, but then the basement is all, weapons and, all of her obsession with the Michael Myers killings and how she is waiting for him to come back. You can kind of give her that whole two sides to the character, where one of it's just like her struggling, the other half is her just trying to kill Michael Myers and her waiting. You could have done that. And it had, maybe when her daughter comes to visit her, maybe she meets some of the people in the neighborhood and becomes friends with them and they hang out, and you can actually build those characters up and have Laurie and her granddaughter just kind of bouncing back and forth between her and her granddaughter, and building that storyline up. You can have the comedy, just don't make it as crazy as it was in this movie. So you can have your comedy, you can have your young faces, have the bloody, gory deaths. You can have Michael Myers kind of killing as he goes to Laurie's house, kind of like killing as he goes along. The sheriff, you can still have him in the storyline. You can still have the Dr. Loomis ripoff, but not have him go crazy. That would have been a good Halloween movie. You could have done so much of the atmosphere. You could have built that up, had that tension. But no. It feels like a movie that had heavy studio influence on it. And I really do think it did. I think that the big problem with this movie is that the studio just kind of changed it up. And it's a shame that nowadays you get so many movies that come out that don't get touched by the studio, but they suck. And you get movies that come out that do get touched by the studio and are pretty good, but they could have been so much more better if the studio would have left it alone. But another thing I want to touch on before I end the video. Halloween fans are starting to push this movie way above where it needs to be. They're placing this up there with either Halloween 1 is, either better or worse than it, or what I mean to say is that they're placing it up there with Halloween 1. Some people are even saying they preferred this movie over Halloween 1. And I'm like, dude, I get it, the movie's fun and all, and I get it, you want the Michael Myers movie to come back, and I get it, we all wanted the original storyline to come back, but it's not that dang good. It is not that good. And so many Halloween fans are lying to themselves, and it's just crazy. It's crazy to me how I can get on and read reviews and watch reviews, and these people go, yeah, it's better than the first movie. It's or they say, yeah, it's about as good as the first movie, or then they say, yeah, it beats Halloween 2, 3, and 4. Those all suck. I'm like, what the freak? Halloween 2 blows this movie out the water. Halloween 3 blows this movie out the water. Halloween 4 is way better than this movie. In my opinion. In my opinion, this movie goes up there with Halloween 5 and 6. That's where I would place this movie. It would go Halloween 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Or no, I would go Halloween 1, 2, and 4 as the first 3 top movies. And then 3. And then it would go like 5, then this movie, then 6. Or no, I would say this movie, then 5, then 6. And then it goes down. So I will say it's definitely one of the better ones. But doesn't mean it's a great masterpiece of a film that should be studied for years upon years. No, it's not that good. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a lazy take on the film. They took the safest and easiest route they could. So why is this movie getting so much praise if it had the easiest job in the world? and that was to homage, and that was to have throwbacks and have winks and nudges and pokes and all this stuff to the original film, and have all of these different cameos and have all these different props in the background. Like, that stuff is easy to pull off. And granted, you know, that fan part of you really likes that. I understand that, and I get it because I liked it too. But you gotta have more to a film to make it a great movie. Like, this movie doesn't even come close to Halloween 1. And people are saying, oh yeah, it's better. Why? Because it's newer? Is it because it's newer? The filmmaking isn't as good as Halloween 1. The lighting, the camera work in the original movie is untouchable. The score is untouchable. The originality to the film is untouchable. And that's what I don't get. Now that this movie's come out, everybody is saying how Halloween, oh yeah, now Halloween 2, 3, and 4 suck. Where the frick did that come from? I just don't understand that. I don't understand that. I don't get the hype. It's good, but it's not that good. Calm down, people. Now, if it was an amazing movie and it had a great, awesome, you know, energy throughout the whole film, it was very consistent and it was awesome and it had a decent ending, I'd be like, okay, it was a pretty awesome movie. But to me, it was just a fun, decent time. It's not worthy of over $300 million, which I guarantee you it's going to get. It's not worthy of all of these over-the-top positive reviews, calling it a dang masterpiece. Halloween 2 is more of a masterpiece than this movie. Halloween 4 is more of a masterpiece than this movie. And I said it. Granted, is it as bad as H2O? No, I think H2O was more disappointing because H2O was so hyped up. This is pretty much H4O, how I feel the same way about H2O. How it was so hyped up and everybody loves it because Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. And then it's like this movie. Everybody loves it. It's all hyped up. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. She battles Michael Myers at the end of the movie. It's the same thing, pretty much. Only this one doesn't have that crappy, awful Dawson's Creek look to it and the MTV crappy, blech look to it. And it doesn't have that horrible score. It doesn't have those bland kills. But still, I think it's... And I will say this, I would rant on Halloween H2O, but I wouldn't rant on this movie. It would still get a review. But it still has a lot of problems. And it still has a lot of things that bug me about it. And one of the biggest things that bugging me right now is the fans. And I just don't understand people's opinions on this film. And I'm not trying to sound like a dick. I'm really not. I'm just trying to understand where people are coming from. And they're saying this movie's better than Halloween 1. I'm like, what the freak? Halloween 1? Hold up. Wait a minute. Halloween 1 is like a million times better than this movie. You know? I don't know. That's pretty much all my thoughts on this film. It's a fun time. It's a fun movie. And I've discussed a lot of things Halloween tonight. But to end this video, first of all, this is almost an hour long. So thank you for watching. If you made it to this point, thank you so much for watching. I figure I'd make this video a little bit longer for you guys since I've made a video in a while. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And it was good, but it was not that good. And, I'm sorry if I offended you guys or if I offended some Halloween fans out there, but I just don't get it. Halloween 2, 3, and 4 blow this movie out of the water. I will say that to end this review. Halloween 2, 3, and 4 are better than this movie. This movie did not deserve over $300 million, which it's going to get total. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. What are your guys' thoughts on this movie? Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? Do you guys think it's okay? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I'll see you guys on the next review. Bye, guys.